The Goths were an East Germanic people, two of whose branches, the Visigoths and the Ostrogoths, played an important role in the fall of the Western Roman Empire and the emergence of medieval Europe. An important source of knowledge of the Goths is Getica, a semi-fictional account, written in the 6th century by the Roman historian Jordanus, of their migration from southern Skansa into Gothiskansa, believed to be the lower Vistula region in modern Pomerania, and from there to the coast of the Black Sea. Archaeological evidence from the Pomeranian wheelbark culture and the Chernyakhov culture, northeast of the lower Danube, confirms that some such migration did in fact take place. In the 3rd century, the Goths crossed either the lower Danube or the Black Sea, ravaged the Balkans and Anatolia as far as Cyprus, and sacked Athens, Byzantium, and Sparta. By the 4th century, the Goths had captured Dacia, and were divided into at least two distinct groups separated by the Dniester River, the Thervingi and the Gruthungi. The Goths dominated a vast area, which at its peak under the king Ermanaric and his sub-king Athanaric possibly extended all the way from the Danube to the Ural Mountains, and from the Black to the Baltic Sea. In the late 4th century, the Huns came from the east and invaded the region controlled by the Goths. Although the Huns successfully subdued many of the Goths, who joined their ranks, a group of Goths led by Fritigern fled across the Danube. They then revolted against the Roman Empire, winning a decisive victory at the Battle of Adrianople. By this time the Gothic missionary Wulfila, who devised the Gothic alphabet to translate the Bible, had converted many of the Goths from paganism to Arian Christianity. In the 4th, 5th, and 6th centuries the Goths separated into two main branches, the Visigoths, who became federates of the Romans, and the Ostrogoths, who joined the Huns. After the Ostrogoths successfully revolted against the Huns at the Battle of Nedao in 454, their leader Theodoric the Great settled his people in Italy, founding a kingdom which eventually gained control of the whole peninsula. Shortly after Theodoric's death in 526, the country was captured by the Byzantine Empire, in a war that devastated and depopulated the peninsula. After their able leader Totila was killed at the Battle of Taginair, effective Ostrogothic resistance ended, and the remaining Goths were assimilated by the Lombards, another Germanic tribe, who invaded Italy and founded a kingdom in the northern part of the country in 567 AD. The Visigoths sacked Rome under Alaric I in 410, defeated Attila at the Battle of the Catalaunian Plains under Theodoric I in 451, and founded a kingdom in Aquitaine. The Visigoths were pushed to Hispania by the Franks following the Battle of Voile in 507. By the late 6th century, the Visigoths had converted to Catholicism. They were conquered in the early 8th century by the Muslim Moors, but began to regain control under the leadership of the Visigothic nobleman Pelagius, whose victory at the Battle of Covadonga began the centuries-long Reconquista. The Visigoths founded the Kingdom of Asturias, which eventually evolved into modern Spain and Portugal. Gothic language and culture largely disappeared during the Middle Ages, although its influence continued to be felt in small ways in some Western European states. As late as the 16th century, a small number of people in the Crimea may still have been speaking the Gothic language known as Crimean Gothic. Etymology. The Goths have been referred to by many names, perhaps at least in part because they comprised many separate ethnic groups, but also because in early accounts of Proto-Indo-European and later Germanic migrations in general it was common practice to use various names to refer to the same group. The Goths clearly believed that the various names all derived from a single prehistoric ethnonym that referred originally to a uniform culture that flourished around the middle of the first millennium BC, the original Goths. The word Goths derives from the stem gutton. This stem produces the singular *gutta, plural *guttenized in Proto-Germanic. It survives in the modern Scandinavian tribal name Guttis. which is what the inhabitants of present-day Swedish island Gotland in Baltic Sea call themselves. Another modern Scandinavian tribal name, Geats, which is what the inhabitants of present-day Götaland, Geatland, call themselves, derives from a related Proto-Germanic word, *gauters, designates *gewd as a centum form, in reliance on Julius Pokorny. This same root may be connected to the name of a river that flows through Västergötland in Sweden, the Göta älv, which drains Lake Vänern into the Kattegat at the city of Gothenburg, on the western coast of Sweden. It is certainly plausible that a flowing river would be given a name that describes it as pouring, and that, if the original home of the Goths was near that river, they would choose an ethnonym that described them as living by the river. Another possibility is of course that the name of the Geats developed independently from that of the Goths. The earliest mention of Geats was possibly made by Ptolemy in the 100s AD and in the 500s by Jordanus and Procopius. Both the Goths and the Guttis were called Gotar in Old West Norse, and Gutta in Old East Norse. In contrast, the other tribe, the Geats, were clearly differentiated from the Goths, Guttis, since Old Norse literature do not distinguish between the Goths and the Guttis, but do clearly distinguish between the Goths or Guttis on the one hand, and the Geats on the other. It is plausible that the Goths who migrated out of Scandinavia were members of the Guttis tribe. At some time in European prehistory, consonant changes according to Grimm's law shifted *g to *g and *d to *t in Germanic. This same law more or less rules out *g ed, which would become *ged in Germanic. According to the rules of Indo-European ablaut, the full grade *gewd might be replaced with the zero grade *gud, or the O grade *gowd, accounting for the various forms of the name. The zero grade is preserved in modern times in the Lithuanian ethnonym for Belarusians, Gurde, and in certain Prussian towns in the territory around the Vistula River in Gothiskanza, today Poland. However, when and where the ancestors of the Goths assigned this name to themselves and whether they used it in Indo-European or Proto-Germanic times remain unsolved questions of historical linguistics and prehistoric archaeology. A compound name, Guthiluda, at root the Gothic people, appears in the Gothic calendar. Parallel occurrences indicate that it may mean country of the Goths. Old Icelandic Suithjod, Sweden, Old English Angel Theod, Anglia, Old Irish Cruth and Tuath, country of the Picts.